You are standing in your kitchen, opening the same crowded drawer for the third time today, and you still cannot find the thing you need. That stops here. In the next few minutes, I am going to count down 17 Japanese home inventions and habits I have tested myself, ranked from the ones I liked to the single one that changed my home the most. Every one of these comes from real Japanese houses, where the average apartment is smaller than an American two-car garage, so every trick has to earn its space or it disappears. I promise the number one on this list is the one you will wish you had known 10 years ago, and it is so simple you can do it this Saturday with things you already own. I remember standing in my aunt's tiny Osaka flat years ago, watching her turn a bedroom into a living room in 90 seconds flat, and, I could not understand how. Now I do. And none of these need drilling, renovating, or permission from a landlord, so stay with me, because they work in the smallest rental too. Let me start the countdown. Coming in at number 17 is the one that greets you the second you walk in the door, and most people abroad get it completely backwards. It is the Genkan, the sunken entryway where shoes come off before you ever step into the house. Here is the small trick that makes it work. You angle every pair of shoes with the toes pointing back toward the door, not into the house. It sounds like nothing, but there is a reason behind it. When you leave, you slip your shoes on already facing the right way, and the whole entry stays visually calm because the pairs line up like soldiers instead of a scattered pile. I added a slim bench with a shelf underneath, and suddenly the 4 pairs that used to live in the middle of my floor had a home. The payoff is instant. The first thing you see coming home is order, not chaos. But this one is only the doorway, and the ideas waiting higher up solve much bigger frustrations. So let me keep climbing. Number 16 is a little metal rod that costs a few dollars and quietly does the work of a whole shelving unit. In Japan, it is called a tsupari bow, a tension rod, and it lives in almost every home I have ever visited there. You wedge it between 2 walls or 2 sides of a cabinet with nothing but spring pressure, no screws, no holes. Most people only think to hang a curtain on one, but I use them flat inside cabinets to create a second level, upright under my sink to hang spray bottles by the trigger, and across a narrow gap to hold rolled towels. One rod under my bathroom sink freed up an entire shelf I did not know I had. Therefore, the lesson here is that vertical air is storage you already paid rent on. Still, a rod is a tool, and the next idea changes something you do every single day with your hands. At number 15 is a folding method you may have heard of, but I ranked it here because most people do it wrong and give up. This is the vertical fold made famous by the KonMari tidying method. Instead of stacking shirts flat in a pile where you can only see the top one, you fold each item into a small standing rectangle and line them up on their edges, like files in a drawer. Here is why it matters. In a stack, you dig, and the pile collapses. And by the third dig, your drawer is a mess again. Standing up, every shirt shows its face, so you see all 15 at once, and pull one without disturbing the rest. It took me one afternoon to refold 2 drawers, and, I have not restacked since. The quiet cost of the old way was time, a minute here and a minute there, every morning. But folding is small. The next one changes how you carry, wrap, and store things all over the house. Number 14 is a square of cloth that replaces a shelf full of bags, boxes, and wrapping paper. It is called furoshiki, and it goes back centuries in Japan, originally used to bundle clothes at the public bath. You take one cloth, and by folding and knotting it different ways, it becomes a grocery bag, a gift wrap, a lunch carrier, or a soft storage bundle for the closet. I keep 3 of them, roughly the size of a large scarf, and they flatten to nothing when I am not using them. The magic is that one object does the job of many, which is the whole heart of Japanese home thinking. Instead of a drawer stuffed with plastic bags you will never reuse, you have one beautiful cloth that folds flat. Therefore, you save space and you stop buying wrapping paper you throw away in seconds. But cloth is gentle, and the countdown is heating up, because the next few ideas start clawing back serious square footage. Number 13 lives right over your sink, and once I installed it, I wondered how I ever washed dishes without it. It is the over-sink roll-up drying rack, a flexible mat of thin, silicone-coated rods that unrolls directly across the top of your sink basin. In a small Japanese kitchen, counter space is sacred, so nothing that can float over the sink is allowed to sit on the counter. You unroll it, stack your wash dishes on top, and the water drips straight down the drain, no puddle, no bulky rack hogging the counter. When you are done, you roll it up and tuck it in a drawer, and your counter is completely clear again. That reclaimed strip of counter, maybe 18 inches wide, became my prep space overnight. If what you are hearing right now is clicking for you, I want to mention that I put the full system behind all of these ideas into a book called Clear Home, Deep Order, and there is also a complete edition called The Complete System that walks you through every principle from the Genkan to the Oshier in one place. It is the thing I wish I had when I was standing in that Osaka flat with no idea where to start. You can find the details in the description below, and it goes much deeper than any single video can. Now, back to the countdown, because the next idea attacks the gaps in your home you did not even know were wasted. At number 12 is the one that made me look at the empty slivers in my home differently. The Japanese have a word, tsukima, for the narrow gap, and there is a whole category of furniture built to fill it. I am talking about tall, slim rolling carts, some only 4 or 5 inches wide, designed to slide into the space between the refrigerator and the wall, or beside the washing machine. Most people leave that gap empty or let it collect dust and a lost sock. I rolled a 5-inch cart into the space next to my fridge, and it now holds all my spices, oils, and canned goods, pulling out on wheels whenever I cook. Therefore, a dead gap became a full pantry. The result is that your storage grows without your room shrinking. But wheels on the floor are one thing, and the next idea sends everything up onto surfaces you have been ignoring. Number 11 turns your walls and your refrigerator side into working storage, and it costs almost nothing. In Japanese kitchens, magnets are everywhere, because the side of the fridge and many metal surfaces are prime real estate. I stuck a magnetic strip on the side of my fridge, and now my scissors, my bottle opener, and my most used tools hang there in plain sight, off the counter and out of the drawer clutter. I added small magnetic cups to hold pens by the calendar and a magnetic paper towel holder, so the roll floats on the fridge side instead of eating counter space. The whole idea is to move flat objects onto vertical metal you already own. The payoff is a counter with breathing room and tools you can grab in 1 second. But this is still surface level, and now we cross into the room most people think they can never fix. So let me climb higher. At number 10 is the bathroom. And this is where Japanese design will genuinely surprise you. Many Japanese toilets have a small sink built right on top of the tank. When you flush, clean water flows out of a little faucet on the lid so you can rinse your hands. And that same water fills the tank for the next flush. It saves water and it saves the space a separate sink would need. Now, you may not be able to install that in a rental, but here is what you can copy today. Think in stacks. I put a slim 3-tier shelf over my toilet tank, the kind that stands on legs straddling the tank, and it holds towels, toilet paper, and a small plant without a single hole in the wall. Therefore, the most wasted vertical space in the smallest room becomes a full cabinet. The relief is real. No more storing spare rolls on the floor. And speaking of no holes in the wall, this is the exact moment I want to talk to you if you rent. So here is the part just for you. If you live in an apartment or a rental and you have been thinking these ideas only work for people who own their homes and can renovate, number 9 is your idea, and it requires no drilling, no tools, and no permission from anyone. These are suction shelves and removable adhesive hooks, and in Japan they are engineered far beyond the flimsy versions you may have tried and watched fall in the night. The trick is in the surface and the technique. You press a strong suction shelf onto smooth tile in the shower, and it holds your shampoo bottles off the tub edge. You use removable adhesive hooks, the kind with a peel-away tab, on the inside of cabinet doors for measuring spoons and pot lids. The secret most people miss is cleaning the surface with rubbing alcohol first and letting it dry, because oil from the air is what makes them slip. I have hooks inside 3 cabinet doors that have held for 2 years, and when I move, they peel off and leave no mark. Therefore, you get the storage of a renovated kitchen with a security deposit you will get back in full. That is the freedom no landlord can take from you. And it moves us into the top of the list, where the ideas get bolder. Number 8 is a way of storing that I stole from Japanese kitchens and offices. And it sounds almost too plain to work until you see it. It is standing storage using file boxes. In Japan, tall open front boxes, the kind you would picture holding documents, are used all over the kitchen. You stand them up inside a cabinet and slide them in like drawers you can pull out. One holds all my flat pans and cutting boards upright on their edges, so I grab the one I want instead of lifting a heavy stack. Another holds cleaning sprays under the sink. A third stores snack packets standing up in the pantry so I can see every one. The reason it works is the same as the vertical fold. Upright means visible and reachable. Stacked means buried. My cabinet went from a cave I dreaded to a set of pull-out files. But that is inside cabinets. And the next idea reclaims the biggest empty zone in your whole home, the one you sleep right on top of. At number 7 is the space under your bed, and Japanese homes treat it as a full closet, not a place for dust bunnies. The idea is simple, but the execution is what ranks it this high. You use flat rolling bins made to the exact height of the gap, and if the gap is too small, you raise the bed frame a few inches on sturdy risers to open more room. I keep off-season clothes, extra bedding, and gift wrap in 3 shallow bins on wheels under my bed, and they roll out with one finger. The floor of a home is expensive space, and the plane under your bed is usually the single largest unused zone you have. Therefore, a whole season of clothing disappears from your closet and lives invisibly beneath you. The result is a closet that finally closes. But storing things flat under the bed is good, and shrinking those things before you store them is even better, which brings me to number 6. Number 6 honestly shocked me the first time I tried it, and it is the reason I stopped renting a storage unit. These are vacuum compression bags, and in Japan they are used constantly for futons and winter bedding. You put a thick comforter or a pile of sweaters inside the bag, seal it, and suck the air out with your vacuum cleaner. The bag shrinks down to a fraction of its size, sometimes to a quarter of the original volume. A puffy winter duvet that filled an entire shelf flattens into something the width of a book. I fit 3 winter comforters into one underbed bin after compressing them, and they came out fresh, not musty, because the sealed bag keeps out dust and moths too. The quiet cost of not knowing this is all the money people spend on storage units for things a vacuum could shrink at home. Therefore, your bulkiest, most annoying items become your flattest. And that leads me perfectly into the top 5, where we stop adding storage and start rethinking the whole way a home holds things. Number 5 is less a gadget and more a small daily reset that keeps every other idea on this list from falling apart, and it comes from an idea Japanese homes hold dear, the beauty of one deliberately empty space. In traditional homes, there is the tokonoma, an alcove kept nearly bare, holding just a single scroll or a single flower. The lesson I took from it is to keep one surface in every room completely empty on purpose. For me, it is one shelf and one corner of the kitchen counter, and the rule is nothing lives there permanently. Why does an empty spot rank so high? Because clutter spreads to fill every flat surface, but a space you have declared off limits becomes the place your eye rests, and the place you actually have room to work. When guests come, that empty shelf is proof the room is calm. It costs nothing, and it holds the line for everything else. But holding a space empty is a habit, and the next idea is the system that decides what deserves to stay in your home at all. At number 4 is a system so precise it feels like magic once it clicks, and it comes from the Japanese workplace philosophy of seiri and seitan, often shortened in factories to a method built on sorting and setting in order. Applied to your home, it means every single object gets one fixed address, a permanent home it always returns to. Here is the part people skip. You do not just decide where things go, you group them by where you use them, not by what they are. So the batteries live with the remote, the scissors live where you open packages, and the medicine lives where you take it, not scattered across 3 rooms. When everything has one address, tidying stops being a decision and becomes a reflex, because putting something away means walking it home. I labeled the fronts of my bins after this, and my family finally stopped asking me where things were. Therefore, you get back the minutes you lose every day hunting for keys, chargers, and scissors. But a system tells you where things go, and the next idea decides how little you truly need, which is why it ranks in my top 3. Number 3 is the philosophy that quietly rebuilt how I shop, keep, and let go. And it has a real name, danshari, a term brought into the mainstream by the Japanese organizing expert Hideko Yamashita. The 3 ideas inside the word mean refusing what you do not need, disposing of the excess, and separating yourself from the desire to own too much. In plain terms, it is decluttering with a backbone. The rule that changed me was a one in, one out habit. When something new comes in, something old goes out the same day, so the total never grows. I go through one category at a time, not one room. So all my mugs face judgment together, and I quickly see I own 11 and use 4. The relief on the other side is hard to describe. Fewer things to clean, to store, to trip over. The quiet cost people never count is the money spent buying organizers to store things they should have released. Therefore, the best storage solution is often owning less to begin with. But even after you own less, how a room feels comes down to one last thing, and it is my number 2. At number 2 is a design principle that Americans almost never think about, yet it is the reason Japanese rooms feel so peaceful even when they are tiny. It is called ma, the beauty of empty space, the pause between things. In Japanese design, the emptiness is not wasted, it is the point, because space around an object is what lets you actually see it and breathe. The practical version I live by is to keep the floor clear. Get furniture up on legs so you can see the floor flowing underneath, hang what can be hung, and resist filling every corner. A room where you can see more of the floor instantly reads as bigger and calmer, even if the room has not changed size at all. When I cleared the floor of my small living room and raised 2 pieces onto legs, guests asked if I had moved to a larger place. I had not moved a wall. Therefore, the feeling of space is something you create, not something you have to pay more rent for. And that idea of space is exactly what makes my number 1 so powerful, because it does not just clear a floor, it makes one room do the work of 3. So here it is, the number 1 on my list, the one I ranked first because it changed my home more than anything else, and it is the very thing I watched my aunt do in that tiny Osaka flat all those years ago. It is the Oshier system, the deep Japanese closet, paired with the futon, and together they let a single room transform through the day. Here is how it works and why it beats every gadget on this list. In a traditional Japanese home, you do not have a room that is only a bedroom. At night, you unroll a futon, a thin quilted mattress, onto the floor to sleep. In the morning, you fold it up and tuck it into the oshiwire, a closet with a strong middle shelf built exactly for it. Suddenly, the bedroom is an empty, open room again, ready to be a living room, an office, a play space, a yoga space, anything. One room does the work of 3. Now, I know what you are thinking. You are not about to throw out your bed, and you do not have to. This is a mindset you can borrow this weekend, and that is why I love it. The lesson underneath is that space should not be locked to a single use. So you take one thing in your home that sits claimed and idle most of the day, and you make it fold away. Start with your bedding if you have a guest futon or an air mattress. Fold it into a closet instead of letting a spare bed eat a whole room. Put your desk on a rolling cart so your dining table becomes an office only when you need it, then rolls away. Use a folding table that lives flat against the wall and opens only at dinner. I learned to fold my seasonal bedding into the top of my closet the way my aunt folded her futon, and the corner it used to occupy became a reading nook with a chair and a lamp. The reason this earns the top spot is that every other idea on this list gives you a little more room, but this one gives you a whole extra room without moving a single wall. It is the deepest secret of how families in Japan live full, calm lives in apartments smaller than many American living rooms. They never ask how to store more. They ask how to make each space do more, and then let it empty out again. Most people abroad walk right past this because it looks like just a mattress on the floor, It is not. It is the quiet genius that makes a small home feel limitless. And once you feel a room open up like that, you will never look at your space the same way again. Here is the feeling I want you to keep. A home is not something you fight against every day. It is something that can hold you gently, with room to breathe and space to think. You are the kind of person who wants a home that feels light and clear, not crammed and heavy, and every idea in this countdown is a small step toward that. So tell me, out of all 17, which one are you going to try first? The vacuum bags at number 6, the empty shelf at number 5, or the room that doubles at number 1? Leave me a comment and tell me where you are watching from, because I read every single one, and I love knowing who is in this with me. If a calmer, simpler home is what you are after, come join the people doing this right alongside you, because the next countdown I am working on is all about the tiny Japanese kitchen tricks that make cleanup take half the time, and there is one involving a single cloth that I cannot wait to show you. Until then, go fold one thing away and watch your room open up. That was just the overview. Inside the Tidy Home Circle, I take you deeper, my full Japanese small space system, room by room, picking up right where this video stopped. Get stuck? Ask me your own question, and I answer you myself. You won't be alone. Home organizers just like you are already inside. Just point your phone's camera at the code on screen. Cancel anytime. One click, no risk. I'm Mika. Come join me.